Welcome to another episode of A Dangerous Podcast. Or is this a normal episode of A Dangerous Podcast? I don't think it is.
This is a very special episode.
Yes,
It's a very
special episode.
I can clear that up. This is a Dangerous Podcast presents Cop Rock Nights, a very special
Cop Rock
episode.
Nights, very special episode.
Right.
And so let's talk about
special. It's so special we had to add Nick. Everyone say hi to Nick. Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Nick. Right.
Well, before we get there, why don't
Five Guys wouldn't have. Five Guys isn't going to do it. We needed
not enough.
Not enough. No.
John,
we needed reinforcements. I know a guy.
Yeah, John has been going on the internet and on the street, scouring everyone he possibly can, saying, "Do you want to be part of a podcast? Because this isn't big enough already." Though I suppose the idea, could we get someone else who knows anything of what they're doing? I mean, that would always be helpful. That would really always be helpful.
So how do you back up with me?
And let me give you a little background. So let me answer that. And here's why Nick is qualified. Okay, he's probably overqualified because all right. So we all know that Cop Rock is the Mount Olympus of shitty television. It's just the so me and Nick have been buddies for a long time, and he just loves shitty shows. Like, and it's like, and the thing is he has external hard drives, multiple external hard drives of movies, shows, anything that's ever aired anywhere, and some that hasn't even aired anywhere. He has it all. So I remember. So there are times when
shows that I do on my own, and I don't show
He made a second series of Cop Rocks on his own, just one big show. But he was like, I think we had a day off on a weekend, and he was like, "Come over, we'll just binge watch some shows. I have 100 million shows," and it's like, "All right, Nick, it sounds great." So I go over there.
Was it a whole day of Manimal?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. We watched 6 movies, his choice, and it's his house. It's his selection. It's like, all right. So this is the first movie we watched, was Sharknado. Okay, followed by Sharknado 2.
Okay,
followed by Sharknado 3. Followed by Sharknado 4. Ran out of Sharknado movies there.
Which one did they start traveling through time?
5.
That's impossible. Okay.
Followed by Lavalantula, because they ran out of Sharknadoes, and then I guess they were doing good.
Crossover from Lavalantula to Sharknado. So
that doesn't surprise me. I guess Sharknado was like, we should branch out into other animal shit. And then followed by Sharknado 2, which had most of the cast of do you remember the movie Police Academy?
I do.
It started most of, the guy with the sounds, and Steve Guttenberg was the star, and the lady. It was like, what the fuck is? And this is after 12 hours of binge watching these, and it's like we're ending in this, and it's like, what is happening? So when we were talking about Cop Rocks, I picked up the phone and I called fucking Nick. This man's qualified. He's qualified for Cop Rock.
Well, Nick, you're obviously family, so welcome. But before we begin, knowing your pedigree and knowing your tastes, I need to pitch you something.
Okay.
And so we are all part of a filmmaker group here, and we've been spending the last 30 years making a 20-minute action adventure car film. But when that's done, we have a new film coming your way. And we pitched it on the podcast before, and I'm going to do it again. And you don't know anything about this. Okay. So I'm just going to throw this. All right. Now, scientists have put the brain of a serial killer into the body of a great white shark. Now, the film does not follow the exploits of the shark committing mass murder. The film is the legal drama surrounding this travesty and trying to prosecute the scientists for their war crimes. The film is Jules or John. You want to name the film? What's our going title?
What was it? It was.
So there's
John revised it for us because he's very good at this.
That's debatable.
It was
Blood Tide.
Blood Tide, Legal Waters.
Legal Waters.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Blood Tide, Legal Waters.
Right.
So Nick, do you approve?
First off,
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to prosecute when the shark is out, obviously past the legal limit, international waters?
That's an issue.
These are the things.
No.
These
The
are the
shark
things
is
that go in
people in
space.
Long Island Sound.
You know.
Good point, Nick. Good point.
No, we're not prosecuting the shark. We're prosecuting the guy who put a serial killer's brain into the shark. That took place not in international waters.
How
That's a place
can you
in the United
prosecute a scientist, a doctor, for saving a life?
He needs to play the defense.
Yeah.
He's got it.
He is just a natural defense attorney, right?
So
Your
this
Honor.
entire-
I have to be the legal defense.
This podcast, actually, the entire purpose, you didn't realize, this was your audition for Blood Tide, Legal Waters. And I believe I can unanimously say you got the role. Congratulations. As soon as pandemic's over, we're shooting.
Oh, okay,
Get fitted
definitely.
for your suit.
Because it follows along suit that like one of my lifelong ambitions was to like have enough money to move somewhere to the Congo and begin training like apes to use automatic weapons just to provoke international upheaval.
That's an entirely different film, though, and an entirely different legal case.
There's too many.
In our new procedural series.
Yeah, exactly. When
That
animals
we're
commit crimes.
So here we are at the A Dangerous Podcast presents Cop Rock Nights. And we're doing this for a few reasons. One, and I feel iffy about this. I really feel iffy about this because it almost breaks one of our rules, our key rule of we do not try to cover material that has been well covered. Like no one did anything on, I'm not saying no one, but very few people had any idea that Dangerous Touch existed. No one had any idea that Dead Weekend existed. And that's kind of our gold standard right there. But everybody knows about Cop Rock. Like Cop Rock is urban legend at its best.
Where'd Ray go?
She had enough of Cop Rock. She has
People made jokes about Cop Rock for like 5 years.
Okay. Wait,
Where'd John go?
where'd John go? He's done with this too.
People made joke about Cop Rock for 5 years.
Yep.
And then no one ever spoke of it again. Okay, that's the way it went. Every other joke on late night television was Cop Rock this and Cop Rock that. And then we just never talked about it. Ever.
Now, everybody's seen it, right?
Yes.
I've seen it now. At the time.
So here's the thing, and also I'd like to know. Okay, all right. Here comes John.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'd like to know that John and Ray kind of bolted right here. Jason's here, suffering from COVID-19, and he didn't leave at all. He didn't blink. And everybody,
got nowhere to
I
go.
didn't leave. My broadband shit the bed. I didn't leave.
but this is our special COVID edition. Jason, all seriousness, how are you doing?
So I'm fortunate enough that I don't have severe symptoms. I mean, I feel like I have a bad cold. I got a headache. I'm a little tired, but that's about it. So just, day by day, getting a little bit better every day.
Absolutely. So I say this, with complete sincerity. If you need anything from any of us here at A Dangerous Podcast, please let us know. And also, ladies, if you're watching right here, look at this man. Look at how he perseveres through the plague to bring you this content. That's the kind of commitment this guy has to offer.
I have an important responsibility here.
When does this podcast start to become like a dating service or like
When you started coming on,
Well, ever since we started getting sponsored by Match.com, they all pay us that money, Ray, and we can't just put it in our pockets and not deliver.
This is just like the first season of QVC. Coming on like after Dr.
Guys, stop for a second. I just need to take a drink from this Pura Aqua peach juicy flavored water.
our other sponsor.
Oh, that's delicious. Absolutely delicious.
First you get the podcast, then you get the women.
Taylor Cunningham just said, yeah, first you get the podcast, then you get the women. That's how I understood this worked. That was mine. And
I'm right here, guys. I'm right here. I'm enough women for the whole podcast.
They didn't say it was Ray.
So speaking of that, with our effort to be spreading our influence and our machismo and sexual magnetism across the internet, Jules, how are our metrics going?
No, I haven't looked
Let's look at
lately,
metrics.
but they're pretty good. I haven't looked lately. I've been busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not concerned.
Now we are still big with the island nations of Japan, correct?
That's correct.
Are we number one in Japan?
I won't say that, but I can say that Japan is number one with us.
Yes, Jules.
So before we get into Cop Rock, and I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say this right now.
Say it.
I'm anxious for tonight because after I watched Cop Rock, in my head there was like 3 hours of fights with John Carrier happening in my head that I've built up. But first of all, raise your hand. I'd like to know if you remember Cop Rock, not like you heard about it, or even if you saw it, if you remembered it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jules. All right. A thing that I remember about Cop Rock, and this is my thesis statement about it, was I remember when it coming on and just and I did watch Cop Rock. I know I watched at least 2 episodes when I was a kid. And I remember the distinct feeling of like, what the hell is this? And then as a child does go, well, I guess this is just where we live now. It happens. Like, here's a cop show that's also a musical. Okay, I'm just going to roll with this. I'm just going to assume that adults know what they're doing and that this is a part of life. And that's what I remember. That was my distinct memory of Cop Rock, of like really just kind of accepting it as a part of the world. And it had this ballsy attitude of it, of like, the fuck do you want? We're Cop Rock. Of course we're gonna have musicals about baby stealing. We're Cop Rock. You want to say something about it? F you. We're Cop Rock.
This is my first time watching, and it kind of reminded me of like Cops, but like with seeing like musical numbers every once in a while. I was hoping for something more along the lines of like, but
Ray, could you say that one more time? You glitched out for a second.
And another second.
Yeah, that's so. Anyway, like when I watched Cop Rock, actually, and maybe I'm jumping in too quickly, but like when I watched Cop Rock, I was very, very torn because there's a lot I fucking like in it.
This is the problem I have with you. This is, and we do it. This isn't the first time. I mean, you're doing this wrong.
I'm not.
You're supposed to have on where we're shitting all over movies. We find bad movies, and Ian just keeps getting endeared by them.
Like, first of all, like, okay, no, not first of all. We're jumping right in here. We're going for this. All right.
I mean, and listen, I would understand it if they were like sci-fi. I know sci-fi and comics are your thing. I understand if they have those elements, but fucking cop rock, Ian.
Okay, I don't like cop rock, but here's the problem.
You say this all the time, and then you.
No, man. Okay. Oh, all right. Here's where I'm gonna go. Even before we get into the recap, this is what I'm gonna say. So I have been assuming for my entire life that cop rock is a piece of shit. That's what I've assumed. Like from my memories of it, from recaps I've read, from everything, that it is just a fiasco beyond all recognition. But one of the things that I think is misleading about it is this idea that do you think that musicals themselves have a right to exist? All right. That's one of the things. Like, if we're going to be debating the merits of cop rock, most people come down to it's cops and they dance. And like, if that's the argument that cop rock is ridiculous because it's a musical about cops, then, I mean, that's just a weak argument because that negates the entire genre of musicals.
It doesn't negate the entire genre of musicals, but it does question the combination of cops rocking.
Let's make it clear, no one ever rocks in this.
Nobody rocks in this.
As a general,
there's no rocking going on.
I don't like to watch anything musical unless it's Muppets.
Okay.
Right. That's just my baseline rule. But looking at cop rock, watching it, I saw a show that really was produced by a guy with a huge ego. Mm-hmm. I mean, Stephen Bochco, he was cruising off of LA Law's success, and he was just like, hey, you know what? I can do no wrong. Cop rock. How about it? Los Angeles, I'm sure people were just like, yeah, Steve, yeah, that's great. Yeah, cop rock. Yeah, so cops that break out into song.
But again, here's
if we're going straight to the problem about cop rock, it's not that it's cops rocking. It is the fact that the tonal whiplash here.
Okay.
Where you've got is astounding, and musicals don't do that. Usually, we see cops in a musical and they're like, "We're gonna fight some crime today." It's light. It's light.
Well,
so you don't have a corrupt mayor and the woman selling her baby and the cop just murdering a guy. You don't have that because that's not the way musicals work.
I don't know.
Have
you guys seen West Side Story or?
Well, the series
is
dark. The series just started on dark. I mean, you get the raid on like the drug house.
Right.
Cops getting shot. It's just like dark. The guy who's like so like ordinary with the pretty wife. It's like, I know she doesn't really.
So okay. Rather than us debating the merits of the musical genre, which I really do want to do soon, let's get into the plot.
I think it was just too early for it. I really do, because if you look at it, that's Glee, except with cops.
You're not wrong. And what do people think? I like what Taylor says. Blow.
It was on for like 6 years.
What do we think?
I should have worked in a high school. Oh my god.
Right. That was the problem. The more high school and less cops.
Yeah.
So Taylor's saying Blow was the market correction for cop rock. Do we agree with that? I don't remember Blow being a musical.
Was there a musical of
He
Blow?
seems to be claiming that it is. That it actually is.
No,
He's claiming it is.
it's a narrative, which is kind of something that happens in musicals, but done with music and singing.
Okay.
Johnny Depp never broke out into song.
But wait, hold on. Is there a musical for Blow? Is there?
There it is.
You really had to ask that?
I really did. But now, I just like. Is there something I'm missing? Is I guess what I'm saying. But let's get into this. So Cop Rock begins.
Jump right into it.
Cop Rock begins in a harrowing scene of the LAPD storming a crack house. It is terrifying. It's pure Stephen Bochco. It is, it's frenetic. It's hard to follow, and it's terrifying. And there's babies crying and children crying and people terrified, and these cops are just plowing through at 1,000,000 miles an hour, guns drawn, everything.
I mean, Ronnie Cox as the chief of police, just drawing in his office.
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna get there. This also sets up that one of the women in the crack house has a baby, and God, the scene where the LAPD are just grabbing the baby out of her arms and she's screaming. It doesn't take normal formula. It takes this, and the kid is just being pulled away. It is a harrowing scene. And so then we cut to the outside where there's all the cops' cars, and they're putting people into the cars. And one of the people that are being arrested turns and starts rapping.
Right. Song breaks out.
It is a breakout in song of basically saying, I don't know the lyrics, everybody. I didn't learn the lyrics. But to paraphrase this particular number, it is, we rule the streets, you don't rule the streets, and we're going to be on the streets tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's our opening number.
So that was really low key, actually.
That's really low key.
So this is the most successful one, in that it's weird, but it's not as jarring as the rest of it.
I harken back to Denzel Washington's speech in the end of
Training Day,
where he's laying out how he rules the streets. That was without music, a cappella. That's what that was.
I think the best done musical piece was the Guilty Verdict.
Oh, we'll get to Guilty. Yeah. I hope we all have thoughts on Guilty.
So I just want to talk about the show in general. What to me, it's not really a musical. Like when you're watching a musical, when you're watching Oklahoma, the whole thing is kind of centered around it being a musical. The problem with this is it's a straight 80s cop drama. It's Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, Hill Street Blues is really what came to mind when I was watching it.
Right, this guy did Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, he did.
He could do no wrong until Cop Rock.
Yeah, but then he did real wrong. And then they just start. It's like you're watching Hill Street Blues, which was the shit back in the day.
Yep.
But out of nowhere they start singing ballads that fucking Randy Newman wrote. I mean, it's crazy.
I'm going to note right now. Later on, when we get to Guilty, the musical number, Randy Newman won an Emmy for that.
That was the best one.
No, I'm going to go with Jules. For my money. The opening number, that kind of low key, I rule the streets Training Day number. That was my favorite number. I think it was the only time that it successfully blended from the scene into the number, and it wasn't jarring, and it was a relatively stirring and powerful number. It was one of the only non-ballads in the whole thing. I liked it. I liked that number. Anyone else have any thoughts about that opening number?
I liked it.
It was shit. Everything Randy Newman does is shit.
That's not
He's such a fucking hack. Fuck him.
All right. So when it comes right down to
Cop Rock.
But here's oh, sorry, Nick, you were saying?
Idea, it had to have been like fueled by Coke and somebody in the old casting couch days, like, hey, what do you want to do? Hey, I can put you in Cop Rock. All right, I think we're even then.
Dude, imagine this, like, Cop Rock.
That had to have come out of the 80s.
Oh God, I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna come back to this in a minute because it's too easy. Like blaming Cop Rock on, oh my God, you know it would be crazy if cops sang. Like that's too easy. Like because you could literally reduce every musical to that. You know it would be crazy if gang members they sang. You know it would be crazy if the Lions sang. You know, like it's
well, here's the thing. In the first rap part in the beginning, the dude was rapping and one of the cops yelled at him to shut up.
Yeah.
When someone's singing and someone else is not, do they realize that person's singing, or is it supposed to be like
okay,
don't think about it,
and I can't believe that I'm here right now defending the concept of musicals. Okay. The general
concept of musicals though. I mean, what you're talking about, Cop Rock basically it was presented in a failed manner.
Yes, I will completely agree with you.
Musicals as a whole, they like, yeah, you know, I've watched a few, you know, usually involving Muppets, as I've discussed before. But the whole idea is that like that song carries you through story that is really kind of vague and not really connected. It's like, how do all of these things? Hey, it's that guy that was singing about something in the other act.
Sure.
Oh, look at this, he's here, and that song carries you through in the musical.
Yeah,
but
yeah, like I think this could have been better called, like the show in general should be called Cop Rock Verbal Assault.
Yeah, they just weren't pulling it off. They weren't, and the thing is, we know it can be pulled off. High School Musical, like I said, Glee. There are plenty of musical.
But you understand why this didn't work. You understand why High School Musical was all based around everything was getting you to the music parts. They weren't doing that here. They were trying to have Hill Street Blues. Just throw songs into Hill Street Blues.
Yeah,
if you took all the music numbers out of there, it would be just like any other show that you did.
And here's where I'm going. And one thing I do want to answer Jason's point. A general concept in musicals is, and if Cheryl is watching right now, who normally comments, please, because she's a musical aficionado, is that no, the characters are not actually singing. That this isn't a world where people just do this. Songs are metaphors, and songs are a way to express inner truth in a way that you can't do through dialogue, or through setting or through staging. And so, no, in the actual scene, people aren't hearing a song; they're just kind of experiencing that. So that's a general concept. But here's where I want to go with the opening number, and then we got to move on. Is that I got terrified when that opening number came in because I'm like, this is way better than I thought this was supposed to be. From what I had remembered, what I'd been told, and everything, I'm like, this moved correctly. This scene is moving. I'm engaged. It stops that pretty quickly, everybody, for me.
Yeah, I thought it was almost kind of sort of cool just for a minute, and then.
So then we have our opening credits, and this bears dissecting.
Thank you. I was going to ask you to thank you.
I have never seen an opening credit sequence like this. So you then cut to Randy Newman on a soundstage, playing the opening title theme song, while the cast sits around watching Randy Newman singing the song.
Right. Guys in character, I that's the way I looked at it.
I don't even think they're in character.
I think they were. They were kind of giving the tough cop looks.
I honestly think that this whole world was just an evolved Brazil. You know, it's just like, oh, what's happening? I don't know. It's all disconnected. Hey, but people over there are singing. Hey.
I did not think that it was the people in character, because they don't seem in character. They're smiling. They're looking at each other. It's this weird meta break the fourth wall and look at our god, Randy Newman. You know, it is.
But
it's so weird.
It's possible to do it, and even like the action genre is not exclusive for musical or excluded musicals. Once More with Feeling on Buffy, that was taking an entire episode and turning it into a musical. Thinly veiled, connected reasoning behind it, but then they pulled it off.
Yeah. And now I'm just going to straight up say right now, one of the things that that made me so sad throughout this is that cop rock never goes all in on being cop rock. You know, like there's so much of this that should be random singing. There's just not enough musical in this damn musical show.
No, there wasn't. That was one of the things. It's because like these long dry periods of the procedural cop show.
ED cop show, right?
Yeah, and then it's just sort of like, oh, and who was it that we were supposed to be rooting for?
Yeah. Oh, that I do kind of like. Okay, but now we got to get into the plot.
You got to remember, though.
You got to
remember, this was made by a guy who makes cop shows. It wasn't made by somebody who does musicals who was making a cop show. It was a cop show. The musicals were an afterthought. I mean, he's done a lot of cop shows, and he was coked up, and he was like,
debatably at the time, he's the best
musicals.
He's the best at this.
And I guess I just read that the Cops like reality TV show started like the year before this, so I guess it was just all about cops in the
cops
early 90s
at that point. So now
after this, do something. Another cop show. Yeah, but I'm gonna make it different this time.
I mean, with the amount of CSIs at this point, how do we not have a CSI musical? After this very meta, very strange opening credit sequence, we get into the show, and I mean, what's the next scene? It's over at the police station. People are getting booked and everything like that, and then you go to the court, and
it was the courtroom.
Yeah. Okay. So we go to the courtroom, and all the crackheads who were arrested the night before, the judge says, "Well, I would love to throw them in jail, but our jails are overcrowded, so we have to let them go." And so they're out.
It's like it would be considered cruel and unusual punishment. And this was basically kind of like, oh, hey, well, you know, the judge is just being a jerk because he's not throwing these obviously guilty people into jail, and oh, look at that, he puts the woman in jail because, you know, she's a woman. And it turns into, all right, now that the guy gets out, he goes out and he gets into a shootout with police and kills. He doesn't make a run for it. He doesn't he's like, hey, lay low. He's just sort of like, you know what, I'm just gonna hop into a van with my buddy with an Uzi, and we're just gonna go shooting up the place.
I do really like the actor who plays that guy, though. I really did like that particular cop killing crackhead. He was pretty cool.
The entire thing, and they kill him.
Do we have to call them crackheads? Can we call them like people suffering from narcotics or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm caught in that.
What's the kind of
economic conditions which force them into a situation of
right?
Crackheads, like I don't know.
Oh,
like,
but
what?
Guys, can we say that
they were actually called baseheads back then? So it was
baseheads.
Yeah. But can we say, Jules, John, that's a very 90s Hartford term right there?
Baseheads or crackheads?
Crackheads is a pretty 90s Hartford term. Right?
Yeah, but no, Nick got it right. He's even better way. He was right. Back then it was baseheads.
Oh. So we move on, and we're setting up our characters at this point. You have two police officers, a man and a woman. They're both really sexy and attractive, and the male officer is hitting on his partner. She's saying, I'm having none of it. I'm married. You've got that. You're setting up your district attorney who's just trying to keep his head above water. And
he called her a control freak, and he
Mhm.
said, "I bet you always like to be on top."
and she's like, "Oh, stop."
All right, she could Me Too him in a heartbeat off of that.
30 years later, yeah, that didn't.
With him, and
She was like, "Wouldn't you like to know, buddy?"
It's fair to say that didn't age well.
No. A lot of this doesn't. Now,
No.
then we get to the scene that Nick, you were describing. While those two officers are driving along, they see a van that's swerving all around, and so they chase the van. It had no plates. There's a pretty dramatic car chase, which crashes into what was it, like a kid's playground?
Yeah.
You got kids running. I mean, there's so much in this that's legitimately terrifying, and
but it's so contrived, bad guys.
Yeah.
And it's so the guys rush on, and this was the idea of crime.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the problem with what they were doing is they made you think between the musical numbers.
Yeah.
We're tracking evidence of the crimes and the procedures, and then they got into singing, and then they got into performing, and it's just sort of like, but I was trying to follow what that guy was saying over there, and now you're singing. Wait, hold on. The DA's coming up with evidence.
But before I do want to make a point that yes, I mean that scene demonstrated a pop culture idea of what crime was, what urban life was. But giving Stephen Bochco credit, he doesn't paint the cops particularly any better. In one of the other squad cars that are chasing them, one of the officers pulls out a shotgun and said, "This is just going to be like hunting with my dad," and his partner goes "Oh yeah." And I think that pretty well establishes that guy's horrible. That cop is a monster, and he immediately gets out of the car and gets Uzi'd down. So I want to give Stephen Bochco credit where the cops are horrendous in this show.
The cops were cowboys.
Yeah.
That was laid out in metaphor, and the whole idea where it's the chief is laying the form for how this all should happen is sleeping with a gun under his pillow in the office. What's your office like?
What's his office like? There's a robot from Westworld in his closet that he shoots at. I don't know what.
Okay, spoiler alert. Later on in the series, and we'll explore this in future episodes of Hot Rock Night, the chief will ride a horse singing his ballad through the urban streets of LA. That happens, everybody. That's coming up.
Well, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Once you're getting all jaunty on your horse, it makes sense you'd want to break out into music.
Yeah, and so then you've got the cop gets gunned down with an Uzi. The perpetrator runs away, and they grab the driver. They haul the driver in, and they also establish that the gunned down's cop partner is very sad. All right, that is he sees his partner gunned down with an Uzi. He's not taking it well. Yeah. So then we go to again a pretty traumatic interrogation scene. And in terms of writing crooked cops and in compromising situations, I mean, there's some of this writing here that is just disturbing. So they've got the driver of the van in the interrogation room, and he keeps complaining that he can't use the bathroom, and they keep forcing water or coffee down his throat. He's like, "I can't drink anymore," and they just pour it down his throat.
I thought they were making him drink his own urine or something.
No, they were pouring hot coffy down his throat.
Okay, that's much better than what I thought it was.
Yeah. There's the chilling line where he says, "I'm not going to testify," and the other detective goes, "You don't understand.
We're violating your civil rights."
Yeah, we don't want you to testify. we're violating your civil rights right now. You
No,
can't
yeah.
justify, we'd never win. So you don't get this one. And I'm like, holy God, that's a horrific scene right there.
The problem is, though, they took too much LA Law.
Mhm.
You know, that was still going on at the time. So, this would have been better if it was like the nice, gritty Hill Street blues, dark,
Yep.
you know, that. And then if they started singing there, that would have even pulled off better than, hey, everybody's singing. And then, like, but they're all dirty cops.
I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting. We're on the same page here. I absolutely thought that scene was going to turn into a musical number. I mean, if you're doing a musical,
You're right,
this is your
yeah.
interrogation scene. This isn't going to be your musical number right here. No, we're not going to have a musical number for about 15 more minutes.
It was like just.
And it's a guy sitting in a chair. He's just sitting in a chair, complaining about his you know.
His bladder's full.
Yeah. And so then we move on. We're introduced to the chief of police, who again is a cowboy, has a gun under his pillow. He's pointing it at his assistant, and then he has to go out and he makes a speech, you know, about the fallen officer and how horrible it is, and how the perpetrator who killed the police officer was arrested the night before and was out because of overcrowding. And then who is it? It's the mayor who comes out?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
mayor. She comes out and she makes a speech about how it is unconscionable that we
I think that was
lock these
Torello's
people
wife,
away.
actually.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I think that was actually, she played Torello's wife in Hill Street Blues, I believe.
I thought she was Bochco's wife.
Now, she might have been Bochco's wife.
I think she actually was.
But I believe that she was also Frank's wife in Hill Street's Blue. Hill Street's
Okay. And
Nick
so,
is never wrong about these things.
I do not doubt
He's
you.
never wrong.
And so then she basically says that it's unconscionable that these people were let out because of overcrowding in our prisons, and that's why we are building a new prison. It is going online. We will be filling it with prisoners by the day's end, and we're going to name the prison after this slain officer. And then she goes off and has a musical number about corruption where she's taking bribes and giving bribes
to get the prison.
to get the prison. And that was where, up until that point, like, again, that opening number had made me go, maybe I misunderstood Cop Rock. And maybe this was better than I thought. And then this scene made me go, oh, no, this is what I thought Cop Rock was. It is an absurd musical number that goes on for way too long. And
Yeah, that's the thing. These are full fucking songs here. These aren't like.
and they should
are
be.
full
They should be. Bobco's paying for them. Like,
I mean, Randy Newman ain't cheap.
Randy Newman is not cheap, and he writes every damn song in this show. So we then move on. There's more drama. There's you cut to the star-crossed lovers, or the horrible sexually harassment scenes between the two officers that were on the scene during that shootout, and they just have this deadpan scene where they're talking about how, my God, we just saw a fellow officer get gunned down. It really makes you think about your feelings. Shouldn't be affect.
So you a top or bottom?
And her response is, no, I feel it too, but I've got to go to my husband. And
No, she didn't say that. She says, I feel it too. And then, okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
And you meet her husband, who's, you know, older, portly, and, you know, and is just waiting for his wife to come home safe. And she said, and they have this kind of sad scene, and where they have a little banter back and forth, and then she goes off to bed. And then he has a ballad about how I'm ugly and I'm old and beautiful, but she chose me, and how lucky I am.
Which
It's
is
so awkward, that scene, because she's obviously like inviting him up to bed with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's missing the cue. wraps her arms around him, is like,
Yeah.
Dad? And he's just like, no, I'm just gonna like stay down here and sing this sad song about myself, rather than like making love to my fucking wife. Like, what the hell? Like, seriously, that really pissed me off.
But also, let's take into account that is the CSI tech.
What?
So he probably is the one that cleaned up the cop that got shot.
No, it wasn't.
That was his job. Remember, at the
That's
end,
the same guy.
That's the same guy?
Yeah.
I didn't think so. But I'm not
No,
doubting
I
you.
think
I'm not
so.
doubting
He
you.
is never wrong. Trust me. I have like questioned him a billion times. He's always right.
Okay.
said, "Hey, are you saying those handcuff marks are 3 days old?"
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
that guy.
record? And he's like, "That's what I'm going to say." I may have to check that again, but
Okay.
that's the reasoning that I had. That this guy's the CSI guy, and he was just sort of like he had to clean up another cop.
Yeah. Gnarso, hold on. That.
Oh, I'll
that
turn it
comment
back.
went
Hang
by.
on. But Albert does say it's same guy.
Okay. Gnarso just said the musical numbers were tonally completely at odds with the story of Corrupt Cops. There are these weirdly upbeat numbers about how the criminal justice system is fucked, and it's so jarring. The only one that works tonally is the first opening bit about the streets. I completely agree. How many people here are in agreement on that?
I agree.
I agree with anything that Nick says because it's always he comes up with these things. You know, it's like there's a room full of the Mandela effect. Except for Nick. And he's son of a bitch right. The whole room will be swearing the other thing, and god damn it, when you look it up, he is always right.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So okay.
But like at
That's
the
so
same
weird,
time,
though.
she was looking for comfort from her husband.
And he's
Mhm.
like, "Nah, I'll stay down here." Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a weird scene. I agree with you,
But,
Ray. It was weird.
Never
Yeah.
mind his choices. Their choices seems weird. If I feel like if there's the two cops who are in love with each other and don't know what to do, that seems like the song material,
Yeah.
not the husband sitting in the chair.
Who we've never met before.
Right. Yeah, well, I don't know anything about writing musicals, but that strikes me as the wrong song choice.
I
I
mean,
haven't found one
Yeah,
right
then-
song choice.
They should have sang, about the sexual tension between each other separately
Yeah, or
in
something.
their bedrooms. Like,
Yeah.
but
I'm thinking about you, you're thinking about me.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I have this husband that isn't meeting my needs. I'm alone in my bedroom, wishing my husband would just tuck me in.
To be fair, she's had a hard day. She's had a hard day.
He wanted to give her a hard night, too.
Oh.
Chelsea! Woo!
Something, a little nightcap, help her go to sleep.
Cheryl, who is, I'm going to say, among everyone probably watching this podcast, the senior authority on musicals,
Right.
again, does
And
point
this-
out that the whole point in a musical, that's the whole point in a musical.
Mhm.
The songs are supposed to drive the story, not
moving it along, yeah.
Yeah. So now we then move on.
That's what I said, Cheryl.
Yep. So now we move on, and the truth is the amount of plot that happens here. I mean, we cut to a few of the officers who are having PTSD over the shooting. We then cut to a courtroom drama where there was a drug sting that was going on.
Yeah, there was a whole other plot to Shoehorn,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what is this? What?
I appreciate that you guys actually use the word plot.
It's very different.
But a plot actually has cohesion.
And the other thing I want to point up is, remember, the episode we're watching was the pilot. Like, they didn't make any episode. They made this episode to. This is what's so serious to the network. They saw this one episode and were like, "Yeah, sign us up. Here's $1 million. Make more of this."
Mhm.
Again, Bochco.
Yeah, it was Stephen
Bochco,
Bochco that
yeah.
was selling it.
It wasn't just some guy.
Putting out a new TV show. Oh, Stephen Bochco, the guy that's got LA Law, Hill Street Blues under his belt? Yeah. All right, buy it. Well, Maybe we should.
Gunartho just says the show has no idea what it wants to be. How is a romance between two cops the B plot to a story about corrupt vigilante cops? Like they have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
It's a good point. But we do segue to this courtroom scene. So it's the prosecution of a drug sting where their detectives were I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied right now. They were trying to bring down a large-scale drug dealer. They were buying cocaine, and then that bust turned into a shootout. One of the detectives was shot, survived, and then they prosecute the case, which then leads to the detective giving this complete, like, just bombastic diatribe about what's wrong with our system. Criminals are getting let loose on the streets, cops are getting gunned down.
It's just sort of like, hey, all right, Judge, I've said my piece. I'll
let it go.
The judge allowed it. The judge is like,
walked into the bathroom and put on. Like, hold on.
Now, and then that leads to the Emmy-winning song of the series, which is "Guilty." So the jury then breaks into a gospel musical number about why this guy's a piece of shit and why he is going to prison for the rest of his life. And let's talk about this one. This is one of the most widely known songs of the series. So what did you guys think? What are your thoughts on "Guilty"?
My whole high point of that sequence was just before, where it's Quark.
Oh,
DS9 going in there, Armand Shearman, who is just basically, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Quark. Oh my god, that's so dumb. Oh, that's a dirty cop. Other than that, it was just like everything was just all these cutting room floor script edits that were thrown together to make this pilot, because it was just like so much stuff coming from different areas, and I'm just sort of like, how is this working? It's not.
No.
It would have been an incoherent show even without the musical numbers.
Yes,
you would just be like, what are these? What's this jumble of scenes? What's going on here?
Exactly.
Like, what am I getting from the mayor here? The mayor took money. What? Okay, now what? What?
This is a shit
I'll challenge you, though. I don't know if any of you have seen like a full episode of Hill Street Blues from the 80s, but go back and watch like an early season. It's just as incoherent.
Yeah. Oh, and Gunarso, just to answer your comment, Stephen, Randy Newman won an Emmy for that song. He won an Emmy for that song.
Can you imagine? Like, what does he do with that Emmy? Does he like display it proudly? Does he have like fucking an Emmy that says fucking cock rock on it and is fucking like?
You know what? When a best boy gets an Oscar for being on a film, I'm sure it goes right up there. Hey, so what'd you get the Oscar for? Oh, it was that production that was back in. Oh, you were in that? Yeah.
He faces it towards the wall, so you can't like read
it was a cop show. It was a well-known cop show.
Some cop show in the 80s. I forget the name of it. It had a long title.
There's one.
But anyways, look at my other stuff here. It's a gold record.
There is one thing I want to say about that musical number, and please, anyone else chime in if you want. It was interesting. It was a scene of a primarily African-American jury with an African-American judge sending a white piece of shit to prison.
Did catch that one.
And the cocaine dealer was like just the smarmiest white guy you could ever possibly imagine.
With the ponytail? Yeah.
I live that. I live that every day. I am that guy. That jury sent me to prison. And
he has that guy's car.
That's what I was just gonna say, John. You stole the words right out of my mouth.
So,
like, definitely, Ian should be riding around in a white suit in his freaking car.
I have a white linen suit and
Yeah,
a white Dodge Challenger.
I
live
need to
this
see
life,
that,
everybody.
Ian. I need to see that happen.
I live this life.
Yeah, I always tell people like there's times when I forget Ian is Italian, and then I see his car.
There's an entire movie based around it, everybody. There's an entire movie, or there will be. So then we move on, and I don't know. I'm just going to say stuff happened. I don't know. A bunch of stuff happened. I don't know. Until we get to the scene towards the end where some rookie cops have cornered the cop killer, and they've cornered him into a house. And at that point, they realize, or the senior detective, who's the same guy who was on the stand in Guilty,
Yes.
right? It's
We're in
the
this
same
plane. Yes.
Yeah. So he then scolds them like, "Do you have any idea what you did? You didn't Mirandize him. You busted in. You broke all this stuff.
No warrant. You did an illegal search. You know, like, blah, 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 blah. You know, you put your prints on the weapon." It was like, yeah.
Yeah, they go into the house, and they have the guy who knows it all. He's like, "I'm going to be out tomorrow. You guys messed up.
You've just ruined your entire case you had against me.
I am free," and he's smiling. And so then they go back outside and they reiterate that. They're like, "You have any idea what you did? He's going to be a free man. He's a cop killer. You ruined this." And they're like, "Oh, geez, yeah, sorry." And he's like, "Well, what are we going to do?" He's like, "Yeah, stay out of here. Get in the car." And so he then goes back inside, has his partner, and the partner inside there, was he the partner of the cop who was killed?
No,
he was not.
Because that was a detective. The cop who was killed was actually
was the beat officer.
Yeah, and he was given time off by, I guess that was the chief.
Well, who is that guy?
I thought it was the DA.
Was
Why
that
did the DA do that? What?
I don't know.
The DA would be hanging out inside the station.
Yeah.
There are so many people on this show.
Yeah.
So many people.
We'll assume he was a lieutenant of some sort. He was obviously ahead of everybody else. But so anyway, they go in there. He has the other officer there. And it's notable that the other officer in there is African American. He says, "Stand him up." So he stands up the perpetrator, who's again talking smack, and then the detective pulls out a gun and shoots him dead right there. And then he says to the other officer, "You were never here." And the other officer says, "Yes, I was." Foreshadow.
Foreshadow when the forensics guy is in the bathroom with that, I guess we'll call him the lieutenant, and pulls a hair off of him. He's like, "Oh, this hair. It's not one of yours. Female.
Not your wife."
Like, yeah, dude. Okay.
I do that all the time. I do that with you. I'm just grabbing hairs off of his jacket all the time.
They were in the urinal.
Yeah.
I would never reach over to another guy standing at the urinal.
Jason, what did you say?
Impromptu forensics investigation.
If anybody hangs out around Ray, just know she's stealing your hair all the time. She's got an entire jar of people's hair that she's stealing.
None of that hair on her head is her own. She just collected it throughout the years. Yeah.
So
man, I'm like a Sasquatch over here. I was actually thinking I was gonna grow my hair out long and donate it because it's out of control. Anyway.
Humble brag.
Donate it to who?
Well, I'm thinning out up here. Look at Jason. Nick's right over here. All of us can take Ray's hair. All of us can use it.
Donate it to Jason. He's looking.
This is how I'm going to be for the remaining part of the podcast. Cousin Nick.
She's from The Ring.
So Albert just said,
"Crawl through my computer, Ray."
Albert just said, "See, now I'm regretting the raging metal number that we never got, Ralph's Revenge." I do know for a fact there is a metal number later in the show.
We're only on episode 1. Albert, just hold your horses. There's
Multiple genres.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm good.
Wait till you get to their polka number. That's a.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm full.
Whoa. Don't tease me.
I can take.
Don't tease me, John, with polka and a good time.
I'm not teasing.
So then we get to the one of the last two legitimate scenes in the show. So they're at the crime scene. There is the forensics expert who is the husband of the female officer, and the lieutenant, which is just we're going to call him until we know who this character is, who starts
memorable.
Yeah, who starts noticing that there are inconsistencies in the crime scene. That it's the forensics expert is just saying, well, it seems cut and dry. He went for a Zuzi. The other officer pulled his gun, killed him in self-defense. He's like, are those cuff marks on him? Yeah, they're old. Really? They don't look old. They're old. What do you want from me?
3 days.
3 days. So we then have that scene, and then we cut to.
Well, then it's him outside.
Yeah.
Dressing down the detective for being a murderer. He's like, I think that's a murder that took place in there. And it's like, yeah, you want to go up against me?
And he's like, I'm the most popular cop of all time. The law, I'm above the law. Everybody loves me.
Woo! Chief's taking me out for dinner. Woo!
And so we will see where this antagonistic relationship goes on later episodes. And this episode ends with the mother who was in the crack house, who had her baby taken away and then baby given back, sitting on a bench. And she's been a character throughout the whole episode. She came in and tried to sell the tip on the to sell out the cop killer. They wouldn't pay her money.
They paid her $50.
They
She
did.
got more
They
than
gave
she
her $50. And so she's just sitting there singing a ballad to her baby about the Sandman is coming. And then a station wagon pulls up and a smarmy guy gets out and says, "Hey, good to see you. Oh, look at this cute baby. It's a cute baby. 200, right?" She's like, "Yeah, 200. Gives him $200. And then he's like, "Oh, that's great. This baby's going to a good home. I got a car seat right in the car just because I knew I was doing this." And he puts the baby in the car and they drive away and she sings her song. End of episode.
Take into account that this was 1990.
Yep.
Chances are that was just a black market baby deal, and that baby was going to a better home than getting stuck into the state system.
This is very possibly true.
So she was actually doing better than anyone. I sold my baby.
I do want to know. I have not actually seen any more episodes of Cop Rock yet. I've just done some reading. I know that character's name is the Baby Merchant. And the Baby Merchant will figure prominently throughout the rest of this season. This is not a one-off character, everybody. The Baby Merchant is coming back.
Yeah, that was a baby deal. This isn't Law and Order Special Victims, okay?
All right. So one of the things I want to note as we break out into larger discussion is I knew this is where this was going to go and I was going to get put in here. My problem with the arguments, the general arguments about why Cop Rock sucks, is the idea is this kind of stereotype about what musicals are. The idea that this doesn't work as a musical because the plot is very dark, or that it's very harsh and like musicals are upbeat and that that's not true at all.
That's not true. That is not true.
Not true. And
it's just badly executed.
Yes. My problem is so easy to dismiss Cop Rock as just this terrible idea of you're going to make a cop show where they sing, and that's way, way too easy.
I mean, yes, it is that.
No, I'm serious.
But that's just coincidental to it being bad.
You tell me that there is a musical on Broadway that is a police drama, that is like this hard-hitting police drama, and it's winning a ton of Tony Awards, and Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote it, and I'm going to believe you. I'm going to tell you right now, there are weirder, darker, crazier musicals out there than Cop Rock, than the plot of Cop Rock.
I guess darkness is the wrong way to put it, but it is the film language they're using isn't the same way that a musical, I would guess, does it. And I would say that like normally a serious musical, even when treating a very serious or dark subject or whatever, has a kind of bizarre, stylized kind of operatic means of doing it. It's not gritty. You know what I mean? It's not gritty. It's not raw. It's not.
Have you guys seen?
realistic.
I mean, this earlier.
Watch Miss Saigon,
But also, like, without it trying to duplicate other procedural cop shows, like its closest duplication that it would have been of is Miami Vice.
Yeah. Ray, sorry, you were interrupted.
No. So one of my favorite musicals is Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog. Have you guys seen it? I tried to say something earlier, but I glitched out. Yeah. And that's pretty dark.
Sure, it does get
God.
Oh, by the way, Cheryl, who's been giving a bunch of comments on this, which we've kind of missed, but she just said Salome gets served John the Baptist's head on a silver platter. Musicals and opera get real dark. But
there's a weird way of treating that darkness that's not being done here.
Yes, I agree.
It has to do with that style at the time that was just emerging of like the dark, gritty TV show, which I think is not analogous to the way that
Sure.
This was a singing Miami Vice.
Yeah, usually when there's like a dark scene, there's like some comedic relief in like Shakespeare, or not that there's too many musical Shakespearean pieces, but like there's generally like kind of a rule, like if it gets dark, then you have to have like this little comedic relief, and you have to like have this like lighter build up. It's like the
tension breakers.
Yeah. So I'm at least going to go out on a limb here and say the crime of Cop Rock isn't that they tried to make a musical about cops. It's that they failed. Like I do not accept that premise that this was doomed from the start because there's no way you could do this. And it's because of all the things we've been saying. It doesn't commit to it. All the songs, all the musical numbers interrupt rather than are integrated. If you had a Cop Rock that was a continuation from the opening scene, the way that musical number worked, and you carried it through the entire thing, if you really committed to being a musical, then it would have had a chance to working. But they didn't. But I am now going to say the thing that I do actually like about Cop Rock, which is that it exists.
Here we go.
It is that it exists. It's this weird time period of television where you could just do that, where Stephen Bochco on cocaine could just explode the medium of television and just say, fuck it, we're doing Cop Rock. And Randy Newman's going to do it, and it's this weird thing, and you never get that again. You never have that in television again, where you can have this weird... Glee does not do it. Like, Glee is nowhere weird enough for that. Gallivant is nowhere weird enough for that. Like it was, again, I'm going back to that child watching television going, well, I guess this is what the world is now. Cop Rock exists. Let's move with it. And you never get that period in television again. That's what I like about it.
But the thing is, you're also talking about a time when Hollywood ran on cocaine.
It was like the more coked up the idea, it was like, that's right. The studio producers, they were looking for the most coked up idea.
Yeah. It's like people are just like, oh yeah, that sounds like great. That's great, Steve. Oh man, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, let's do this. Cop Rock. Steve's talking about Cop Rock.
Right. Like ideas would get shot down. Ideas would get shot down because they weren't coked up enough.
It's definitely like that is not going to happen again. That is not going to happen again. But that's also how cinema and entertainment goes. It evolves.
So yes,
You know?
I'm not going to say it's not going to happen again because now you can just make your own show and put it on YouTube, and you don't need like what was so spectacular is they needed like NBC's fucking approval to put that's the amazing part.
And it is an
multi-billion-dollar conglomerate.
Yeah, it is an unbelievably expensive show too. This was a really
you
expensive
have to
show.
like
You got to pay for Randy Newman.
Yeah,
Randy Newman ain't cheap. We all know that.
No.
He won an Emmy. This is something I'd like to do, Ian, if you'll indulge me. I'd like to go around the room, and I'd like to ask everybody here and everybody who's listening in to name one show that's worse than Cop Rock. I want to see if it can be done.
Hold on.
Jason, let's start with you. Give
Let
us
me think.
one
Let me
show
think.
in the history of television that is worse than Cop Rock.
I don't know. I gotta think. I mean, I'm sure I know a
You say
lot.
there's
but now
no
I'm on
worse
the
show,
spot.
and that's
Fine.
my answer is going to be there isn't one. There's nothing worse than Cop Rock.
Well, no. Okay, that was your answer, but let's go around the room.
I'm saying you can say Cop Rock is the worst show, but if it's not, you need to say what is worse than Cop Rock.
Okay.
Yes, Randy Newman is you got a friend. Yeah, that guy, that fucking guy.
Okay, Jules.
Come on, show one.
It's hard. Yeah, no, it's hard to evaluate the absolute level of badness when this show is bad in such a bizarre way.
Yeah.
So it's hard to point to that show and be like, oh, that dialogue was horrible. And it's kind of like, well, how does that measure up to whatever it is Cop Rock is? I don't, I don't know.
If you need, all right, we'll give you a minute. Let's go to Ray. I know Ray's got one. She's going to say the John Carrier show.
I like bad shows, though.
I got John to sing.
Which is just not like bad in a good way at all.
Not bad.
I mean, I can think of plenty of shows that are like worse than this, but
All right,
they have more redeeming.
one show that's worse than this. All right, look.
I don't really like. It's too. I don't like The Office. I know a lot of people like that.
Oh, okay.
I rather watch
The Office is worse than Cop Rock.
Yep.
One of the most beloved shows of all time. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people on like the dating websites too are like The Office, and I immediately swipe left. I'm just like, you're
That
just
leaves
a
you with
mind
nobody.
stone.
Anybody who isn't like The Office is just weird.
Okay, Nick.
Here I am, not
Nick,
liking
give us
The
a show
Office.
that's worse than Cop Rock.
Oh gosh, that's like you said, it quantitatively worse. It was mentioned earlier. Why it comes to mind so easily, I think, Manimal. Where it's like a procedural, investigation and the transformation into animals using the same effect over and over again for the transformation scenes. And he can do this because he can turn into any animal. All right, sure, okay. And I watched it. I watched the whole series.
It's that bad.
And also at that time when, what do you got?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I really don't like ancient.
Pat Nelson with Joe Pesci. That was way back. Just a season. Another one, investigative show. Let's see. There's a lot of them out there, but Cop Rock does kind of take a special position with just failure of execution.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was completely bizarre. But let me go because I have one, and it's
Okay.
not. I do have one that is absolute. I don't have a lot that's worse than Cop Rock. It's by far very easily one of the worst shows in history. But there's one that I've always remembered, and I don't know if anyone will remember this. It's called the Half Hour News Hour. It ran on Fox News, and it was their answer to the Daily Show. Like they were trying to make a comedy show like the Daily Show, but for conservative, and it was so fucking bad. It was unwatchable. I mean,
Did it have Rafe Gutfield?
Who?
Gutfield, what's his name? The guy who's supposed to be like the comedian.
Rafe Gutfield? I don't think so. No,
Okay.
That doesn't ring a bell. No, it had like actors, not like Fox News people at all.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I really don't like Ancient Aliens because I feel like that's kind of like an inherently kind of racist show. It's like, oh, people that aren't like Western culture can't possibly know math or be able to build stuff. It has to be aliens. I don't
It's
know.
gotta be the aliens.
Is it
I'm
my
like
turn
weird
yet?
in that like a lot of popular shows that people like, I don't necessarily like. If it's not like if it doesn't have like some vigilante justice or some supernatural like aspect to it, I probably don't like it.
Did anybody ever see After MASH? That was pretty fucking bad.
Oh God, no! I didn't.
I didn't see it.
I did see after
That was really. Was that not really bad? That was really.
that was
That's
really
real
bad.
bad.
But I think the blow of that was softened by Trapper John MD. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah.
So that kind of like, oh, okay, we need to see more MASH because it's
Mhm.
lasted longer than the actual war.
This is a pretty bad show though.
John, is it my turn yet?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. Small Wonder, Seventh Heaven, Just the 10 of Us. Off the top of my head, right there.
Wow, dude. I'm
Wow,
just
throwing blow Small Wonder.
I'm just gonna go ditto on Small Wonder on that one. I totally didn't do that, but I have to say that that is probably one of the best.
Listen, and I'm not saying that I don't have a fondness in my heart for Small Wonder,
I know you do.
much as I do for Cop Rock, but Small Wonder is much, much worse.
Oh my gosh.
Like it's one of like that's the thing. Like you say Cop Rock is so bad, it's so bad. That's like the people that say this is so bad when a movie like this movie is the worst thing I've ever seen when Mystery Science Theater 3000 exists. Like Small Wonder is just terrible. So off the top of my head,
Small Wonder. Yeah, I totally remember that.
child, just like other
What
girls.
was the show where that girl's dad was an alien or an astronaut, and she had like a crystal, and she would talk to her dad on the
Oh
moon?
God, what was
Oh yeah,
that?
it was Burt Reynolds voiced the alien dad.
Oh my God, I love that show. There's a supernatural element to it. She could stop time.
Yes.
What the fuck was that?
What show was that? I love that show.
Hey guys, do you guys remember? And this is now what Cop Rock Nights has turned into. When you guys were kids, did anyone watch the television show of Starman? You know, the Jeff Bridges movie Starman. Did people?
I got a movie. I didn't know there was a show.
Oh, there
The
was a
name of
show.
that TV show I just
I
found
remember
is Out of This World, and that
Oh,
that
Out of
show
This
is awesome.
World.
I loved that show.
Oh, wait a
That
second.
molded me into the human being that I am today.
Oh,
And
wait.
that's got to be the same production company that did Small Wonder, right? It just
Galactica.
definitely is.
It has
It's
like a
definitely
similar
the same
vibe
people.
for sure.
It's the same
Galactica
people.
1980.
I just wish my dad was a terrestrial alien.
I know a movie. I know a TV show that was on a very short period of time, and it is by far the worst show ever, and nothing
Worse
can
than
ever
Cop
beat it.
Rock? Worse than Cop Rock?
Worse than Cop Rock by a lot. It makes Cop Rock look like fucking The Mandalorian.
Okay, all right.
It's called Heil Honey, I'm Home.
Oh, what?
What?
Google it. Go on YouTube and look for it. I swear it's a real thing. It was a comedy. It was like an 80s comedy of this goofy Adolf Hitler, like living in modern day era 1980s. Heil Honey, I'm home. I can't describe
Wait.
it. You have to look it up.
No.
It's insane.
Jules.
It's fucking insane.
Jules, are you nodding like a confirmation that this exists?
Oh yes. Yes, it does.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
see, you never know when I'm lying, but I'm not lying this time.
Yes.
I mean,
no.
man, a minute ago, I was gonna say a show that was super racist when I was a kid, but I loved was Sidekick. It was
Oh my god, Gil Gerard,
yeah.
Eddie. What was it? Eddie Long or yeah.
Like, young Chinese kid, like 7 years old, who kicks ass. Like, that was the plot of the show.
Oh my gosh, wasn't that a spinoff of The Last Electric Dragon?
Was it? Are we right now like showing like 1980s nerd plumage here?
No, but I think like the 1980s was the era of the worst television. Now, I'm not saying everything was bad in the 80s, but the worst TV shows of all time definitely happened in the 80s.
They were pretty bad, yeah.
And you know what? I can think of another musical TV show that was worse than Cop Rock, The Brady Bunch Hour.
Oh, does that count as a musical? Well,
All it was singing. Yeah, it was
a variety show, right?
Arnie Reyes Jr.
Variety show.
Thank you. Yes.
But it was musical.
I always thought that The Biggest Loser was like a really mean show, and I hate that. Like shaming people about their bodies and.
Yeah.
Albert said, "My mother, the car," and he's not wrong there. That was really terrible.
Oh God, but I can't hate my mother.
Writer, come on. That's all. Come on.
Oh. So everybody, are we done with this right now? Are we done with the pilot of Cop Rock?
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
So this there's only 11 episodes. I want to warn you, there's a very finite number of Cop Rock shows.
Are we going to watch all of them?
We're going to watch every single one. We're going to watch them once a month, and so it should take almost a year of Cop Rock. We're not doing it all the time.
Going to have to get a whole lot of COVID for this to happen.
You're going to need a whole lot of cocaine too. I'm saying, like, maybe we all do cocaine just to, like, for the spirit of things, like, while we do.
Oh,
no,
hey,
probably not. Probably not.
Worse than Cop Rock, because I haven't watched it. Batwoman.
Batwoman, the movie?
Wait, no, I've heard Batwoman's pretty good.
TV show.
Oh, the TV show.
Yeah,
Who was in that?
That's changed its main character already.
Well, that's true, but I've heard the show's pretty good. I don't know. Well, now I got to watch Batwoman.
Yeah. and so we've got a year of podcasting about Cop
2021 is great. 21 is the year of Cop Rock.
Yep. I just want to say that I'm really not a fan of musicals. I just find all the singing to be just kind of obnoxious. So I guess I've got a year to look forward to that. Except there's only one. There's only one musical I ever really liked, and it's called Cannibal the Musical. It was the one by Trey Parker from South.
Yeah.
Cannibal.
Oh my God, I love that. That's such a good.
Okay, guys, how did this happen? We already every week watch a terrible movie and devote significant time to this. How did we just all sign on for a year of Cop Rock? Under our noses, Nick, who had nothing to do with anything.
This is what happens when you hang out with me. Nick will tell you that. We're just having a friendly little podcast on one thing. The next thing you know, you signed on for a year of Cop Rock. I gotta be right back. I'm gonna go get some puppies for sure.
Okay. All right. Any final thoughts before we sign off, everybody?
We have.
What did I get myself into?
Yeah. There's not much to say other than it's going to be a long year.
Yeah. So I'm going to end this with a phrase that will haunt us.
There's also that Lorenzo Lamas, the hunter.
What about Richard Grieco's Marker?
Ooh.
Yeah, this is like it's on now. We're doing it.
I'm not familiar with that.
Swinging lower.
No, it is.
So I'm gonna sign us off tonight with a phrase that we will come to regret, which is everyone, let's be careful out there.
Gotta be careful out there.
Be careful.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. A Dangerous Podcast presents Cop Rock Nights. Have a good night, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
I don't like The Office.
I don't know how to sign off of this. I feel old.